Hi, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. On a previous video, I did a walkthrough of this Cupid Company Valentine's Day mini album, and in this video, I'm going to start the tutorial, and we're going to go through making the cover and the spine, making the base pages, and attaching them to the spine. I'll also go through the tools that I use and a lot of basics. I'll put below in the description box time markers, so if you wanted to skip to making the pages, then you can go ahead and do that. There will be another tutorial in this series, and that will be how to make the different elements that you attach to the base pages and the cover. For instance, the waterfall, the flaps, the back pockets on the page, and also how to do the pop-ups, and finally how to do the accordion pocket and flap for the back cover. So that'll be in the description box as well, but if you're ready, let's get started. So here are the tools that you'll need. Grab a pencil. I use a couple of different pairs of scissors, a ruler, X-Acto bladed knife, a couple of bone folders, and I use this Cricut scoring tool because sometimes those bone folders have too sharp of a point. That one's pretty dull. You could also use this kind of stylus, just one that has a good size ball point on it. I tend not to use the bone folder for scoring, but whatever works for you. I did notice in the Country Craft Creation store there's a new pencil stylus or pencil bone folder, and you might want to try that. And then besides those, I use magnetic discs, so it makes 10 sets, and I use art glitter glue. It's just a very good all-purpose glue. It dries clear. I stick two of those barrel magnets on the side, and so my stainless steel pen will just stick to it. I don't have one of those things to put on the top, the dangles, I don't know what you call it, but that's what I use for now, and it works good for me. 2 sizes of score tape. I use the 3/8 of an inch and the 1/4 inch, and of course those adhesives you can get at Country Craft Creations. I like these adhesives because I've used them and I know that they're strong. They withhold different humidities and environments. As well, I'll use 2 sheets of medium-sized chipboard 8.5 by 11. I'm starting with a pack of the Artisan Cardstock in white. I don't know if you've ever used the Artisan Cardstock, but it is fabulous. It's a high-quality cardstock that if you're going to make a book, you should use something that's going to last. Just try it once and you'll be forever hooked. And the paper I'm using is Cupid Company by Echo Park, and that of course is available at Country Craft Creations. I love Echo Park paper. It's got these cut aparts, and the paper is just very easy to work with. I also have a couple of ribbons from the Country Craft Creations shop. I have this black and white satin ribbon. I have a couple of seam bindings in pink and black. And then I have a pack of the ephemera that matches the collection. It's from Cupid Company. You'll need a paper trimmer. I use this old Fiskars one. And you'll also need a scoreboard. So first thing we're going to do is get our chipboard, and we're going to cut 2 sheets. It's already 8.5. We're going to cut it to 6.5. 2 sheets, 6.5. And I use this Fiskars rotary tool. I use it for paper. I use it for chipboard. It works wonderfully. And then you're going to cut the spine piece 8.5 by 2 3/4. We're going to cover the front cover, back cover, and spine piece separately. So for the front cover, you'll need two pieces that are 10.5 by 8.5 of the Artisan Cardstock. And for the spine piece, you'll need one that's cut at 10.5 by 5 3/4. Now we're going to apply adhesive to the chipboard. So grab your 1/4 inch and 3/8 of an inch score tape. I have this roll of thicker score tape in my stash, so I'm going to use that. If you have sheets of score tape, that would be fabulous, but I don't have that, so I'm just going to cover the perimeter of the 8.5 by 6.5 pieces of chipboard with the 3/8 score tape, and then you'll see I'll cover the interior of it as well. And make sure you burnish that score tape real well. And then with the spine piece, I'm going to take that thicker score tape and put it on. There's some room at the edges that's not covered, but I'm burnishing here real well. And so I've made a 1-inch piece of chipboard as a shim. In the Country Craft Creation shop, there's templates already made for that, but I'm just going to grab the chipboard that I have and put it up against the edge. I'm going to use the measuring guide on the scoreboard, make sure I'm 1 inch from the top, and by using that one piece on the side, it's going to make sure that it's centered and straight. So now go ahead and grab your bone folder and burnish the back of it. And then take your bone folder and run it next to where the chipboard is. I don't think it shows up that good with this white, but just make an indentation or you'll see it'll flatten out. Just run it next to the side of the chipboard so it'll help bend it. So you can see it here. And do the same thing with the front and back pieces. I don't have a full sheet of score tape, so I put in some score tape around the perimeter and in the interior, and I'll grab my art glitter glue and fill in the gaps where there is no adhesive. And then you've got the 3 pieces. All right, so here I'm going to just take my scissors and cut off all of these 4 corners. And then to make sure that you've got a good fold, just fold in these corners, put your scissors here up to the chipboard, and then trim. See how this sits out? This is out just a little bit. There's a little, and I'm going to just cut that with my scissors. Don't cut too much. You still want about 1/16 of an inch left on there. But that way it's going to be a nice straight cut. And I'm going to turn it the other way and go through the other 4 corners and make sure they're nice and straight. Putting the scissors up against the chipboard and making a straight cut. Okay, now that we've got that cut and trimmed, I'm going to add some art glitter glue, and I'm going to go right to the edge of the chipboard. In my mind, it helps it fold a little. And then I'm going to add some to here, and we're going to just push that in with my bone folder, you'll see all the glue coming out of the seams. And there we go. I'm going to take my dry disposable wipe and wipe off all the rest of the glue. I'm going to do the same with this side, so I'm going to put it right there. Take my bone folder and push it. And then push it again. Okay, so that's all we need with that for right now. Now we're going to do the same with the covers. Okay, so before we took the bone folder and went along the seam. Now we're going to make sure that there's a good fold in that by pushing it down and bending it and scoring. And do all four sides like that. Now, if you have a different way of doing your album cover that you're comfortable with, by all means, do what works for you. You'll find sometimes I go back to the old method where I tape a couple of pieces of the cardstock together and put all three pieces, the spine and the two covers. But I've been using this one, and you'll see in a little bit, I like how the spine sits. I like the clean look of the spine. Now, if I were going to cover the spine with, I don't know, material or put lace on it and you don't see the spine, I might go back to the other method. Okay, again, I'm putting the scissors up against the chipboard and trimming. I'm taking off a sliver of paper. And then I'm going to turn this over. I did need to take any off there. Not even there. And not even there. See, slivers of paper. I wouldn't be able to start a campfire with that. And I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to glue both of them. I fold in, look for any overhang, put my scissors right up to the chipboard, and trim. And then I'm going to turn it over this way to see if this piece needs any. And we are good. So now I'm going to enclose all four sides. So go right up. Well, silly me, I needed to put All right, so this goes right up against this piece. I want to make sure this is going to be folded down perfectly. So I fold one side in, and I'm putting the spine with the cover side out. And this is going to go right up onto here. I'm going to put glue down, trying to stay about 1/8 of an inch away from the score line, but yet I'm being generous with glue. I'm putting that down, and that'll pop up. I'm going to turn this over now and burnish here as well. Wipe some of this wet glue off. All right, that's fabulous. Now we'll do it to this one. So again, we're staying about 1/8 of an inch away. Burnish, wipe any glue off. And there, we've got it. Now we're going to take this other piece, which is 8 7/16 by 7 1/4. It was a piece left over, and that's going to go here. I might put a big piece of score tape here just to make sure it stays. Let me go grab that. I'm going to show you using this craft cardstock how I score my binding system. Okay, so if I put a light to the side, you can see where I scored. So again, let me just show you. So what I'm doing, I'm turning this sideways, is we have a wing, and then we're going to have hinges, and then a gusset. So the wing can be any size, you know, as long as it's 1/2 inch so it'll adhere to the book itself, you're fine. And then the hinges have to be the same size. So I'm making 1/2 inch hinges, and my gusset is going to be 3/8 of an inch thick. If I was going to put something really thick in the pages, like really add to the pages or add thick embellishments like flowers, then I would probably make my gusset 1/2 inch. But in this case, I'm just going to stick with my 3/8. So we start at 1 1/2. Then we're going to do 2 and 2 1/2. So that's one set of hinges. Now I'm going to go to 3/8. And then I'm going to go to 3 4/8. And then I'll go to 3 7/8. Another way of doing this is I started here and then I count 4. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. Then 3. 1 2 3 for the gusset. And then 4, and then 4, and then 3. So if you're not sure about the measurements, count the 1/8 of an inch. And that's the way to go. So now I'm going to do, I did 4 1/4. Now I'll do 4 3/4. and 5 1/4, and then I'm going to do 5 5/8, and then I'll do, is that right? Yeah, 6 1/8, 6 5/8, and then 7. So I've got one set of hinges here, 1 2 3 4, and this is going to be my final set of hinges because I'm going to do 5. So I'll do 7 1/2 and 8, and that is all I need to do as far as the hinges. So you'll see the pattern: the wing, 2 hinges, the gusset, 2 hinges, the gusset, 2 hinges, the gusset. Okay, now let me grab my score tape, and I use 2 sizes of score tape. I use the 1/4 inch and the 3/8, and I'm going to keep this up the way it is. This is actually going to be the top, and I'm going to add tape for where the page is going to sit on the top. So the way I do that is I go right next to, between these 2 hinges, this is going to be the top of the mountain where they meet, and I'm going to put the 1/4 inch tape there. Just watch this all the way through, and then you'll get the idea. And then I'm going to put the second, come here you, the second piece of 1/4 inch tape meeting right up there. And it's okay if you go over. I'm going to take a knife and trim it later. They tend to be a little messy, or you could go shorter and it's still going to stay. So I'm going to go to the next 1/2 inch hinge and put 2 pieces touching each other. And then the next 1/2 inch hinge, put 2 pieces touching each other. And do the same for the sets of hinges all the way down. All right, now I'm going to grab my bone folder and give this a really good burnish, although I'm going to burnish real well before I finish this whole thing. All right, now I'm going to turn this over, and so hopefully you can see those score lines. Probably you can see it a little better if I go this way. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 3/8 gussets and put my 3/8 score tape on the gusset. So I will try to do it this way. So just try to get as neatly as you can in that gusset. There's 4 gussets for 5 pages. Okay. Yeah, I messed up on that, but that's okay. All right, so now I have these two, the 2 1/2 inch or is 1 set of hinges. I have 4 of those. So when you're making the hinge, you need a tape to hold them together. So I'm going to put a piece of 3/8 tape right next to where the gusset is. So you just need 1 piece of tape for the 2 hinges. So I'm just going like this. So I'll put the 3/8 tape right next to the gusset on those 4, where those 4 gussets are, and then I need to do one for the bottom too, because this is going to be on the wing. And then while I'm here, you could put 1 or 2 pieces of tape on both sides of the wing. I'm going to do it right there. And right there. And then I use glue on the wing also, but I do put tape close to where the fold of the book is. All right, now take some time and burnish this really well. And then I'm going to take my knife and then just cut this off. Now I'm turning it back over to where we have the 1/4 inch tape, and I am going to fold I'm moving stuff out of the way. I'm going to fold right in the center of all 5 of those. So I'm turning that over and folding here. Take my bone folder and burnish. I'll go to the next one. So I'm in between the 2 and just burnishing that. All right, so that's where the pages are, and we will call the center of those the top of the mountain. So I'm going to put this down flat, pull the paper up so it forms a mountain, and pull it together. It's not going to be adhered. I'm just going to pull it together so I can match up my 2 hinges. Do that with the next one. You can bend it back and forth just to make sure so those 2 hinges know they need to stick together. They're not glued yet. We're just training the paper. Okay, so you can see it's got a slight angle to it. They're not totally folded, but they know that that's where they want to be, or they're getting used to it. Now I'm turning this over, and inside the mountain I'm going to pull off the score tape. So that's the 3/8 score tape on the 1/2 inch hinge. The 3/8 score tape on the 1/2 inch hinge. I'm going to pull off those 5. Okay, now the paper is still sort of trained. You can sort of see it there. There's a little shadow. I'm going to gently turn this over and pull these mountains again and stick them together because we just pulled the backing off of the tape. So there we go. That one knows they're meant to be together. So do all 5 of those, and there we are. So now those are sticking up and they're all together. I'm going to take my bone folder and burnish, turn them the other way, and burnish, and do it a couple times just to train them so they're flexible. All right, now before I put this into the book, I'm going to grab scissors and so where the hinge is, I did a bad job of trimming the tape. Do a better job than I did. And I'm going to just trim, not quite at a 90-degree angle, but just up to the end of that score tape. Just like that. So you're going to do all of those. So no more than 1/4 inch. I guess that's a 45-degree angle. I'm going to turn it over and do this side as well. Okay, so now my hinge is done, except for putting it in the book. I'll go and trim that in a little bit. When I turn it upside down, you'll see there's all these score tapes next to each other. If you want to add just a little extra oomph, just take a little bead of art glitter glue and put it in that seam. Not a lot. You don't want to overpower the tape, but it just will help. Then you peel off the backing, then you center it on the spine of the book, trying to get the bottom and the top equal distance from the where the spine ends and the cover begins. You know, try not to have it wonky. And that's all there is to it. I hope this was a better illustration than doing it in the white. You know, that white was sort of hard to see. All right, let's get back to the book. All right, we're going to start making the base pages. And obviously you're going to make your base pages, if you're going to do the same colors as I did, out of the white Country Craft Creations Artisan Cardstock. But to show you better, I'm going to use different colors of green because the white is sort of hard to see sometimes. So you're going to need 3 pieces of 12 by 12 that you're going to cut down to 12 by 8 1/4. So 3 pieces, 12 by 8 1/4. So I'm going to write that down here. 12 by 8 1/4. 3 of those. And you're going to need 5 pieces that you cut down 9 1/4. Well, I'm going to cut it first at 6 1/4. And then 9 1/4. So you'll need 5 of those. 6 1/4 by 9 1/4. Okay, and then you're going to need 2 that are going to be 12 inches long that you cut down to 6 1/4. So 2 12 by 6 1/4. All right, so that's all the cutting of the base pages that we need to do. Let's go ahead and grab our scoreboard and start scoring what we need to do. Okay, I am using this stylus because it's got a nice point to it, not a real huge point. I am not fond of using bone folder kind of stylus. You could use if you have a stylus like this. Or I saw on Country Craft Creations, they're selling, I think it's called a pencil stylus, or a pencil bone folder. It's got a nice point to it, so I'm anxious to check that out. All right, let's start with the one that we need 5 of, the 6 1/4 by 9 1/4. We're going to put it with the long side up at the top of the scoreboard, and we're going to score that at 1/2 inch and 8 3/4. So 1/2 inch and 8 3/4. So that's obviously 1/2 inch on both sides. Can you see those score lines? I guess somewhat. Okay, and then the 2 pieces that are 12 by 6 1/4, you're going to score with the long side at the top at 8 1/4. Whoops, 8 1/4. So I made a score line that I didn't want to. I'm just going to simply turn it over and lightly make a score on top of it, which helps to erase it to some degree. Okay, and then we're going to get what we have, that's 3 pieces at 12 and 8 1/4. We're going to score at 6 1/4 with the long side at the top. Is that right? Yes, 6 1/4. Because now it's going to be 6 1/4 by 8 1/4, which is the size of our pages. For these illustrational purposes, I'm going to need another piece that's 6 1/4 by 9 1/4 to show you what we're going to do. But first of all, we're going to take these And so you can use art glitter glue, you could use score tape. I would use a strong adhesive in either case because you want to make sure that it's going to hold. And I'm also going to grab a pair of scissors. I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch score tape. And so the indentations are here. You turn it over and the bump is on this side. With the indentations on the top, I'm going to take my 1/4 inch score tape and go end to end on that 1/2 inch score line. Burnish it real well. Go ahead and trim the corners. If you start at the corner and trim up, then you know you won't trim too short, but I'm pretty good at it. But if you're nervous about trimming, or you've done it before and you've had the corners trimmed too much, then you can just start where that little indentation is. Okay, now I'm going to burnish at the fold, and that'll also help burnish the score tape down once more. And then I'm going to take the 12 by 8 1/4 that we've made the score line at 6 1/4. Going to turn it over so the bump is on top. Now this paper is cracking. It is not Artisan Cardstock. It's just some paper I had in my stash. So there's the difference. And we're going to take off the score tape on the top and the bottom. Move some stuff out of the way. So I've got 1/4 inch score tape, but I'm also going to take my art glitter glue and put a bead of it on the top and the bottom where the score tape isn't. And so here's where the fold is. The fold is going to open up to the right side. And I'm going to lay this down here. And just match it up real good. And burnish. Okay, this is page style 1. You're going to have 3 of those. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing with page style 2. So I'm going to take off the tape, put some art glitter glue and I'm going to, all right, so this is where the indentation is. I'm going to turn it over, and that's where the bump is, and fold on the bump. So the flap will be coming out up to the top, and that's going to go right on top of that. So you'll have 2 of these matched up with the remaining 2 of the 9 1/4 by 6 1/4 inch piece that's scored on both sides. So now you'll have a flap that goes like that. The back is plain, and it's making a tube. So those are the 2 page styles that we're starting with. Now let's go ahead and grab the book, and I'm putting white pages in the book, so just bear with me, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comment box below. All right, now we are going to attach our pages to our book. Okay, so now I've got this. I've got my pages. So I've got 3 pages like that and 2 pages like this. So I'm going to start from the back with one of the pages I have 3 of. Okay, I'm going to show you with these colorful pages how to attach your pages to your binding system. So first, the binding system, and this is just an abbreviated version, In our book, we're going to have 5 hinges. In this one, I only have 2, but there still is a wing, a gusset, and another wing. So this will go in the spine of the book. But you're going to take, so you have 5 pages. The first one is actually the last one. I start from the back, and so that's one of the pages that goes like that. That's the front. Here's the back, and it makes a tube. So the tube is going to go on the hinge. In order to do that, we'll take off the backing paper of the last one, the last hinge. So I've got the score tape, and I like to add a bead of glue on the top of my hinge, so that way once you burnish everything together, glue is actually closing the tube at the hinge. I'll explain more as I go. Okay, so the page opens like this. So I'm going to open up the tube and simply put it on my hinge. And it's going to go on. I'm going to put it as straight as I can and burnish. And so now here is where you can't really see it, but that's where the hinge ends. And the glue is right in there. And if you push that in enough, the glue is going to close up the tube, not just the adhesive. So that way the glue dries and nothing will stick if you were to put paper in your page. It's not going to stick because it's going to get to where the glue is attached. So we'll do it one more time. So there's the hinge, and actually I'm going to zoom in a little. Just so you see. So when you put the next page, so the next page is the one with the flap, and there's the tube. When you put the tube on, you're going to come to where the tape is and a smidgen more. I don't know if you can see that, probably. So there's where the tape is and a smidgen more. You don't want to go all the way down to the hinge. I mean, all the way down to the wing and the gusset. You want to come up a little so that hinge has the ability to move back and forth. So again, we'll peel off the backing paper on the tape that's on the hinge, and it's a 1/4 inch towards the top of the hinge. Grab some glue. Make a bead along the top. Put the hinge on, so that tube's going to go over the hinge. Sometimes it goes on perfect and sometimes it doesn't. That's okay, we'll get it. I pulled it off again, put it on, and now I'm going to burnish it gently with my fingers, and then go ahead and grab your bone folder. All right, so that took care of the cover and spine, the binding system, making the base pages, and attaching them to the book. In the next video, it's going to show you how to do the waterfall, flaps for the pages, hidden pockets, back pockets, and then, of course, the pop-up. Thanks so much for joining along. I'll see you in the next video.